Hello friends, let me introduce my name is David Miller, and this is my story that I want to share on the internet. From here I want to share a story. Let's start. The morning sun slipped through the curtains of a small suburban house. David Miller, a man in his late 40s with kind eyes and a gentle smile, stood in the kitchen making coffee. His movements were slow, thoughtful, like someone savoring the quiet before the day truly began. From the hallway, the sound of soft humming floated in. Emily, his daughter, walked out still in her pajamas, her long brown hair messy from sleep. "Morning, Dad," she said with a sleepy grin. David looked at her, and for a moment, his chest tightened. She wasn't the little girl holding his hand at the playground anymore. She was a grown woman, only weeks away from walking down the aisle. "Morning, sweetheart," he replied, sliding a cup of coffee across the counter for her. "You sleep okay?" Emily nodded, wrapping her hands around the warm mug. "Yeah, I just kept thinking about the wedding. It feels unreal, you know?" David chuckled softly. "Unreal for you? Try being me. Yesterday you were learning how to ride a bike, today you're somebody's bride-to-be." Emily laughed, but her eyes softened. "You're not losing me, Dad. I'll always be your girl." David forced a smile, but deep down, a shadow of doubt stirred. He wanted to believe her words. He needed to believe them. As they sat together at the kitchen table, the walls around them held countless memories. Emily's drawings still taped on the fridge, a baseball glove on the counter from the times David tried to be both mum and dad, and the faint sound of the clock ticking like it was counting down the days. For now, everything felt warm, safe, and familiar. But in the back of David's mind, one question lingered like a whisper he couldn't shake. What happens to a father when his little girl belongs to someone else? The story of love, loss, and the bond between a father and his daughter had just begun. The question echoed in David's heart long after Emily left for work that morning. He sat alone at the kitchen table, staring at the empty coffee cup she had left behind. The faint lipstick mark on the rim felt like a reminder soon, even these little traces of her daily presence would vanish. David let out a heavy sigh and whispered to himself, maybe this house will feel too quiet without her. That evening, Emily returned home with a sparkle in her eyes. She carried a wedding magazine under her arm, her phone buzzing with non-stop messages. "Dad, you should have seen the ballroom Michael's family booked," she said excitedly. "It's incredible. Chandeliers, flowers everywhere, a string quartet, everything's perfect." David forced a smile, though his heart tightened again. "I'm glad, sweetheart. Sounds like a fairy tale." Emily sat beside him, flipping through pages of dresses and table settings. She didn't notice her father's silence, didn't see the way his eyes grew misty as he looked at her. Every laugh of hers felt like music, but also like time slipping through his fingers. "Dad," Emily finally looked up. "You'll walk me down the aisle, right? No matter what." Her words pierced through the ache in his chest. David swallowed hard, his voice unsteady. "Of course, Em. That's the one thing I've been waiting for my whole life." For a brief moment, everything felt steady again. The promise of that walk gave him hope. But deep down, a quiet fear whispered back, what if even that moment gets taken away from me? The thought haunted David as he lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling. The house was quiet, almost too quiet, the kind of silence that pressed heavy on the chest. The next morning, Emily was rushing out the door, phone in hand, already dressed for another meeting with Michael's family. "Don't wait up for dinner, Dad," she called, grabbing her keys. "Michael's mum invited me to try the catering tonight." David stood by the doorway, forcing a smile. "All right, sweetheart, just don't forget to eat something you actually like, okay?" Emily laughed without looking back. "You worry too much." And then she was gone. The silence swallowed the house again. David wandered into the living room, his eyes landing on a framed picture of Emily at 5 years old, missing a front tooth, holding his hand at the county fair. She had clung to him back then like he was her whole world. Now she was slipping into another world, one David wasn't sure he belonged to. That evening, David's phone buzzed. A message from Emily, "Dad, it's getting late. I'll just stay at the Andersons tonight. Don't wait up." David's hand trembled as he read the words. "Stay at the Andersons. Stay with them." He sank into the couch, whispering into the empty room, "Feels like I'm already losing you, Em." Outside, rain began tapping against the window, as if the world itself echoed his quiet fear. David couldn't sit still anymore. He grabbed his old coat and decided to drive past the Andersons' mansion just to feel close to Emily, even from a distance. David parked a block away, watching from the shadows. Through the window, he spotted Emily laughing at the dinner table, sitting right beside Michael's mother, Victoria Anderson. She looked so comfortable there, like she belonged. But for David, the sight cut deep. That was supposed to be their laughter, their dinner table. A knock on his car window startled him. A sharply dressed man holding an umbrella leaned down. It was Richard Anderson, Michael's father. "Mr. Miller? What brings you out here in this weather?" David swallowed hard. I was just passing by. Wanted to make sure Emily was all right." Richard's smile was thin, almost rehearsed. "She's more than all right. She's with family." The word family stung like a slap. David forced a nod. "Of course. She's in good hands." As Richard walked back toward the mansion, David sat frozen behind the wheel. The glow from the Andersons' windows blurred through the rain on his windshield. For the first time, he felt like a stranger in his own daughter's life. And the whisper returned, louder this time, "What if I don't belong in her future at all?" The question echoed in David's chest the next morning as he sat at his small kitchen table, staring at the empty chair across from him. For years, that seat had been Emily's, filled with her chatter, her laughter, her presence. Now it was just empty. A knock on the door broke the silence. It was the mailman, handing David a thick envelope with gold-embossed letters, the Anderson-Miller wedding invitation. David's heart skipped. He carefully opened it, tracing the elegant design with his fingers. The cover was breathtaking, the kind you'd expect for a fairy tale wedding. But when his eyes fell on the printed names, his smile slowly faded. Michael Anderson and Emily Miller, together with Mr. and Mrs. Anderson, invite you to celebrate. David's name wasn't there. The invitation looked as if Emily belonged fully to the Andersons now, as if he were just another guest. His throat tightened. That evening, when Emily came home, glowing with stories about floral arrangements and dress fittings, David couldn't hold it in. He began gently, holding up the invitation. Why isn't my name on here?" Emily froze, her smile faltering. "Dad, I didn't realize. Michael's parents handled most of the printing." I thought. David's voice cracked before he could stop it. "It looks like you're theirs, Em. Like I never even existed." Emily's eyes glistened. She reached for his hand. "Dad, no, you're everything to me. This was a mistake." Or was it the beginning of being erased from her new life? That question followed David like a shadow. The next weekend, Emily invited him to a wedding planning dinner at the Andersons' mansion. David put on his best suit, an old one he had worn to job interviews years ago. The fabric was a little worn at the elbows, but he straightened his tie, determined to stand tall. When he arrived, the mansion buzzed with activity. Guests mingled in polished shoes and sparkling jewelry. The Andersons glided through the room with ease, their presence commanding attention. David hovered near the edge, unnoticed, holding a small box in his pocket, an old locket he planned to give Emily, passed down from her mother. At the dinner table, a long row of seats had been arranged. Michael sat at the head, Emily beside him, Victoria Anderson close at her side. When David walked over, his heart dropped. There was no seat for him. "Excuse me," David said softly to a waiter. Is there a place for me?" The waiter glanced at the chart, then whispered, "I'm sorry, sir. Your name wasn't on the list." For a moment, David just stood there, the chatter of laughter and clinking glasses swirling around him like noise from another world. He could see Emily across the room, smiling at something Victoria whispered in her ear. She looked radiant, but far away. Richard Anderson finally approached, his tone smooth but distant. "Mr. Miller, perhaps you'd be more comfortable at one of the side tables. Less crowded there." David swallowed hard. A side table. Away from his daughter, away from the center of her world. He sat down quietly, hidden in the shadows of the grand room. From a distance, he watched Emily laugh, plan, and dream with the Andersons by her side. And in that moment, he realized, little by little, he was disappearing from the picture. The thought weighed heavy on David's chest as he drove home that night. The city lights blurred past his windshield, but all he could see was Emily's smile, shared not with him, but with the Andersons. The next morning, David decided he couldn't keep quiet any longer. He rehearsed his words in front of the bathroom mirror, calm, steady, not desperate. "Emily, I just want to feel like I'm still part of your life, part of your wedding." That evening, Emily came home, her arms full of fabric samples and flower catalogs. She barely set them down before her phone buzzed again, Victoria calling. David began carefully, his voice low but urgent. Can we talk? Just for a few minutes? Emily glanced at her phone, then at him. Dad, I'm really swamped right now. Can it wait? David's throat tightened. It's about the wedding. About me. That made her pause. She put the phone down slowly. Okay, what is it? David took a breath. I feel like I'm fading out, like the more this wedding gets planned, the less I matter. I wasn't on the invitation. I didn't have a seat last night. And it scares me, because you're my only family. If I lose my place with you, I lose everything. Emily's eyes softened, but before she could answer, her phone buzzed again. Victoria's name lit up the screen. I have to take this, Emily whispered, almost apologetically. She stepped into the other room, her voice light and cheerful as she spoke to Michael's mother. David stood frozen in the living room, his words hanging in the silence. His heart sank with the realization, even when he spoke, his voice was too easily drowned out. That night, David sat alone in his room, holding the small velvet box he had carried in his pocket at the Andersons' dinner. Inside was the silver locket Emily's mother had worn on their wedding day, something David had saved all these years for the moment his daughter would marry. This, he whispered, running his thumb over the locket, was meant for you, Em. A piece of your mum, and a reminder of us. The next afternoon, Emily came home in a rush, glowing with excitement. Dad, you won't believe it, Victoria found the perfect dress shop. She's taking me tomorrow. David's chest tightened, but he forced a smile. That's wonderful, sweetheart. But before that, I have something for you. He opened the velvet box slowly, revealing the locket. The light caught on its delicate silver, and for a moment Emily's breath hitched. Dad, it's beautiful, she whispered, her eyes glistening. Just as she reached out to take it, her phone buzzed again. Michael's name flashed across the screen. She hesitated, torn, then pulled her hand back. I'll look at it later, okay? They're waiting for me. David's hand closed around the box, the locket still inside. He tried to smile, but his lips trembled. Of course, Em. Go ahead. Emily grabbed her bag, kissed his cheek quickly, and rushed out the door, her laughter already filling the hallway as she answered the call. And just like that, the locket, her mother's memory, their family's legacy, remained untouched in David's hands. He sat back in the quiet, the velvet box heavy as a stone, whispering to the empty room. Maybe I'm the only one who still remembers where she came from. The thought weighed heavy on David as he sat in the boutique lobby the next day, waiting while Emily tried on gowns with Victoria Anderson at her side. From behind the curtain, he could hear Emily's laughter, bright, nervous, excited. Then Victoria's smooth voice, "Oh darling, that one makes you look like royalty." David smiled faintly, imagining Emily in white, just like her mother once was. He wanted so badly to be part of this moment, to say, "That's my girl. You look just like your mum." But when he stood up to peek, an assistant quickly stopped him. "Sir, the fitting area is for family only." David froze. I am family. I'm her father." The assistant blinked, flustered. "I'm sorry, I was told Mrs. Anderson would be in charge today." Before David could respond, the curtain pulled back, and there was Emily, radiant, glowing, the dress flowing around her like a dream. His eyes filled with tears. "Emily, you look..." His voice broke. "You look just like your mum did." For a second, Emily's smile softened, touched by his words. But Victoria quickly stepped in, clasping her hands. "Oh, sweetheart, you're going to take Michael's breath away. This is the one." David stood there, invisible again, as the assistant circled Emily, adjusting hems and fabric. He wanted to say more, to hold on to the moment, but his words were drowned in the flurry of excitement. He sank back into his chair, whispering to himself, even here, "I'm out of place." That night, David sat alone on the porch, the cool evening air brushing against his face. The laughter and chatter from Emily's calls with Michael floated faintly from her phone, but he felt miles away. He held the locket tightly in his hand, the silver glinting faintly in the porch light. Every memory of Emily's childhood, her first steps, her first day of school, the night she crawled into his bed after a bad dream flashed through his mind like a slideshow. "I've loved every single moment," he whispered to the empty night. "And now, I'm not sure I even have a place in your life anymore." David's phone buzzed. A picture from Emily appeared, her in a sparkling gown, smiling at herself in the mirror, her excitement radiant. He scrolled, stopped, and stared. The thought hit him like a wave. This wedding was taking her into another world, a world where he might not belong. Tears filled his eyes. "I'm losing you, Em, and I don't know if I can get you back." The night wind rustled through the trees, carrying with it a promise and a warning. Change was coming. The world he knew, the bond he had cherished, was about to be tested in ways he couldn't yet imagine. David's heart ached with both love and fear, standing at the edge of goodbye without knowing when or if he would ever step back in. The next morning, a formal envelope arrived at David's door. His hands trembled slightly as he tore it open. Inside was an official itinerary from the Andersons for the upcoming wedding events. He scanned the pages and his chest tightened. Every event, every rehearsal, every dinner had a place card, but none of them had his name. David sank into the nearest chair. "They've completely forgotten me," he whispered. His voice cracked, echoing through the empty room. Later that day, he called Emily. I got the schedule. There's no place for me at the rehearsal dinner." There was a long pause on the other end. Emily's voice, usually so warm, sounded hesitant. "Dad, I didn't realize." "Oh, you're what?" David's tone was sharper than he intended. "I just want to be there with you. It's my daughter's wedding. Shouldn't I at least be counted?" Emily sighed, her frustration barely hidden. "Dad, please don't make this harder. I promise I'll talk to them. But maybe it's fine if you sit this one out." David's hands clenched around the phone. "Sit this one out." The words felt like a verdict, sentencing him to the sidelines of the most important day of his life. That evening, he drove past the Anderson estate again. Through the tall windows, he could see the rehearsal in full swing, Emily laughing, Michael by her side, Victoria orchestrating every detail. David pulled over, gripping the steering wheel, a storm of anger and despair brewing inside. For the first time, he realized this wasn't just an oversight. It felt intentional. Was he being pushed out from the life he had built with his daughter? David's hands were still clenched on the steering wheel as he parked near the Andersons' estate once more. Tonight was the rehearsal dinner, and he had made up his mind. Wasn't going to let this moment pass without trying one last time. Inside, the grand dining room buzzed with chatter and laughter. Emily glowed, Michael proudly by her side, while Victoria Anderson coordinated the seating like a general on a battlefield. David stepped forward cautiously, approaching the hostess. "Excuse me, I'm David Miller, Emily's father." The hostess smiled politely but hesitated. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Miller. The seating chart is final. You can wait in the lounge if you like, but the main table is reserved." David's chest tightened. He swallowed the lump in his throat. "Wait in the lounge?" His voice was low but firm. "I'm her father. I'm supposed to be at her side." Victoria's voice cut through the room like ice. "David, you're welcome to attend, but please understand, this is a special arrangement. We've prepared everything carefully." Her words felt like a slap. David nodded, forcing a polite smile, but inside, his heart ached. He walked to the lounge, sitting at a corner table, hidden in shadows, as Emily laughed and mingled close enough to see, but distant enough to feel every inch of separation. As the night dragged on, he watched, powerless, the woman who had been his little girl for 25 years slowly slipping into another world, a world where he didn't seem to have a place at all. And with each smile she gave Michael, each word whispered to Victoria, the fear in David's heart grew louder. What if I'm losing her? Forever? The fear gnawed at David as he left the Andersons' mansion that night. The laughter, the music, the sight of Emily shining at the main table, it all haunted him like a scene from a life he could no longer reach. He drove home in silence, the city lights casting fleeting shadows across his hands, gripping the wheel. He knew he couldn't stay on the sidelines anymore. He had to do something, anything, to remind Emily that he was still her father. The next morning, David arrived at Emily's favorite CAF, carrying the locket once more. He hoped the small gesture, a piece of her mother, would bridge the growing distance. Emily spotted him and smiled, but her excitement was tempered by urgency. "Dad, perfect timing. I'm running errands for the wedding." "Can you?" David interrupted gently, holding out the velvet box. "I just wanted you to have this." Now, Emily glanced at it, then at her phone buzzing with another message from Victoria. She hesitated. I can't take it right now, Dad. They're waiting for me. Maybe later?" David's heart sank. Later? When will later ever come if I keep being pushed aside? He swallowed the lump in his throat and nodded. "Okay, I'll wait." Emily kissed his cheek quickly and ran off, leaving the locket untouched in his hand. David walked back to his car, staring at the silver glint through his fingers. His daughter was just a few steps away, yet it felt like miles. "I'm here, and yet I'm invisible." As the day ended, David realized a painful truth. Love alone might not be enough to hold on to the daughter he had raised. He would have to fight not with anger, but with patience, courage, and every ounce of his heart. The following evening, David received another invitation to a PRE wedding gathering, this time at Victoria Anderson's estate. His hands shook slightly as he opened the envelope, hope flickering in his chest. Maybe this time. Maybe they finally want me there. He arrived, dressed carefully, locket safely tucked in his pocket. But the moment he stepped into the grand hall, the reality hit him like a cold gust of wind. All the guests were seated according to Victoria's chart, and there was no place for him at the main table. Mr. Miller, Victoria's voice was smooth, clipped, and polite. Please, this way. The side area has been arranged for you. David nodded, swallowing the sting, and walked to the small side table tucked near the far wall. From there, he could see Emily glowing in conversation with Michael, Victoria, and other family friends. Every laugh, every shared glance reminded him of the distance growing between them. Emily caught his eye for a fleeting second and smiled, but it felt rushed, almost apologetic. She was pulled back into the flow of the event before he could reach her. David touched the locket through his pocket. A piece of her mother, a piece of her father. And yet, I'm still invisible. Through the evening, he watched, powerless, as the celebration continued without him truly being part of it. Every moment a reminder, love alone might not secure a place in his daughter's life. And in that quiet pain, David realized he would have to find another way to prove, not just to Emily, but to everyone, that he was still her father, irreplaceable and indispensable. The next morning, David woke to an emptiness that felt heavier than ever. The house was quiet, the kind of silence that reminded him of all the moments he would miss if this wedding continued to push him aside. He called Emily. Sweetheart, can we talk? Just for a few minutes? There was a pause on the other end, longer than usual. Finally, Emily's hesitant voice replied, Dad, I'm really busy with the rehearsal today. Can it wait? David's chest tightened. It can't wait. Emily, please. I need to say something important before the rehearsal begins. Emily's sigh carried a tinge of frustration. Dad, okay, 5 minutes. That's it. When she arrived, she was radiant in her fitted rehearsal outfit. David held the locket in his hands, heart pounding. This is from your mum. I wanted you to have it now, to carry with you through everything. Emily glanced at it, then at her phone buzzing insistently. She hesitated. I can't right now, Dad. They're waiting for me. Can we maybe later? David's voice cracked. Later? Every time I wait, I feel like I'm losing you a little more. Emily's eyes softened, but before she could respond, a call pulled her away. She left quickly, leaving the locket untouched once again in David's hand. He stood there, alone in the empty room, whispering to the air, I'm here, Emily. I'm still your father. Please don't let them erase me. The quiet pressed in around him, louder than any voice, and David realized the hardest battle wasn't outside. It was the fear that he might lose his place in Emily's heart entirely. The next rehearsal evening, David arrived early, hoping to finally be near his daughter during one of these important moments. He clutched the silver locket tightly in his pocket, a talisman of the bond they shared. But as soon as he entered the Anderson estate, he felt the weight of eyes on him. Victoria and Richard Anderson standing near the entrance, exchanging subtle glances. David, Victoria said, her voice polite but firm, I'm glad you could make it. But please remember, the main rehearsal area is for the immediate family and wedding party. David swallowed hard. I am her father. I belong there. Richard stepped forward, his tone smooth but commanding. We understand your concern, David, but Emily has a lot to manage. We're just trying to make this easier for her. David nodded stiffly, masking the swelling frustration inside. He was here physically, yet every instruction, every polite brush off, reminded him that the Andersons' influence was closing the circle around Emily around him. He took a seat near the back, heart pounding as Emily moved through the rehearsal space, laughing and chatting with Michael and his parents. Every smile she gave them, every word she whispered, was a small blow to David's chest. He reached for the locket in his pocket, rubbing it between his fingers. This is my last tether, my last proof that I belong. But even as he watched, he realized that no object, no gesture, could guarantee his place if the family controlling her world refused to see him. How do you fight for a place in your daughter's life when the world is determined to push you aside? The question haunted him, echoing louder than any voice in the grand rehearsal hall. How do you fight for a place in your daughter's life when the world is determined to push you aside? David stayed in his corner, watching Emily move effortlessly among Michael's family and friends. He wanted to call her over, to pull her aside for even a brief moment, but each time he tried, someone stepped between them. Victoria Anderson's voice floated over, gentle yet firm. "Emily, could you help with the flower arrangements?" Emily nodded, smiling, and left David behind. Michael placed a reassuring hand on her back as they walked toward the table, another reminder that David was an outsider in the very life he had raised her for. David's chest ached. He opened the locket in his hand, staring at the tiny photograph of Emily as a little girl. "This is her, my daughter. No one can take this away." He finally whispered to himself, a mix of anger and desperation, "I'll find a way to reach you, Emily, even if they try to keep us apart." Just then, Emily returned briefly, noticing David sitting alone. Her eyes softened. She wanted to come to him, to bridge the distance, but Michael's father intercepted her. David looked down at the locket, his grip tightening. "Even when she sees me, they won't let me near her." The rehearsal continued, every laugh and every whispered word a reminder that the gap between them was growing. And David realized, with a heavy heart, that the fight to stay in his daughter's life was just beginning. "I won't give up. Not now, not ever." The rehearsal ended and David followed Emily outside, hoping for a moment alone. Rain had started again, gentle at first, then heavier, drumming against the pavement like a heartbeat he could feel in his chest. Emily turned to him, umbrella in hand. "Dad, I wanted to talk to you, really talk." But before she could step closer, Victoria appeared, her voice firm yet sweet. "Emily, don't forget, Michael and I have a meeting about the seating arrangements. Come along, dear." Emily hesitated, glancing at David. His eyes begged her silently, "Please don't leave me out." She swallowed, torn between obedience and love. I have to go, Dad," she said softly, almost apologetically. David's chest felt like it might crack. The locket pressed in his pocket, heavy with the weight of unspoken words. "All my life, I've been here for her. And now, even when I try, I can't reach her." He watched her walk away with Victoria, disappearing under the grand entrance. The rain soaked him as if it were trying to wash away his strength, leaving him trembling with helplessness. For the first time, David felt the shadow of despair creeping in, threatening to overwhelm him. The thought whispered cruelly, "What if I really am losing her?" But deep in his heart, a spark remained. He clenched the locket tightly, whispering to himself, "No, I will not let this wedding erase the bond we share. I'll find a way, I promise." The days before the wedding blurred together. David spent every moment in a quiet tension, hoping for a chance to connect with Emily, but the Andersons' constant presence made it nearly impossible. That evening, he arrived at the rehearsal dinner again, clutching the locket. His heart thumped like a drum, each beat echoing his fear and determination. Emily noticed him immediately, her smile faltering as she saw the desperation in his eyes. She wanted to reach for him, to reassure him, but Michael's father intercepted her once more. David's chest tightened, his patience fraying. He stepped forward, louder this time, his voice carrying over the chatter. "Emily, please just a moment. I have something for you." Heads turned. Conversations stopped. Victoria's eyes narrowed, and Richard's posture stiffened. Emily froze, torn between obedience and the pull of her father. Victoria stepped in sharply. "David, this is not the time." "I don't care," David interrupted, voice trembling with raw emotion. "I'm her father. I've raised her. She deserves to hear me before this wedding happens." Silence fell over the room. All eyes were on him, and for the first time, the authority of the Andersons felt challenged. Emily took a step forward, reaching for his hand. "Dad, I hear you," she whispered. David's grip on the locket tightened, tears welling in his eyes. For a moment, the chaos around them disappeared, and it was just the two of them, father and daughter. Yet even in that moment of connection, David knew the battle wasn't over. The wedding, the Andersons, and the fear of losing his place in Emily's life still loomed large. "I've reached her, but the hardest part is yet to come." After the tense rehearsal, David and Emily finally found a quiet corner outside the grand estate. The rain had stopped, leaving the air crisp and heavy with the scent of wet flowers. "Dad," Emily whispered, her hand brushing his. "I didn't know how much you've been hurting." David held her hand tightly, voice barely above a whisper. I've spent my whole life trying to protect you, guide you. And now, every step you take into this new life, I feel like I'm losing you." Emily's eyes glistened. "You're not losing me, Dad. I'll never forget everything you've done for me." But before David could respond, a shadow fell over them. Victoria's voice was cold yet polite. "David, I think that's enough. Emily has responsibilities. She can't spend all her time with you." David's chest tightened. The words weren't just a dismissal, they were a warning. A reminder that the Andersons controlled her world, and any attempt to intervene too strongly could push him further away. He looked into Emily's eyes, seeing the conflict there, and whispered, "I understand. But I won't stop trying. Not for anything." Emily squeezed his hand gently. "I know, Dad, and I love you for it." As they walked back inside, David felt the weight of the coming days. He had survived the first battles, but the wedding-esque approach meant the fight for his place in Emily's life was only beginning, and the challenges ahead would test him in ways he couldn't yet imagine. "This is just the beginning, and I will not let go." The morning after the rehearsal, David sat at his kitchen table, the locket resting in front of him. The weight of the past weeks pressed on him like a storm cloud, but beneath it burned a determination he hadn't felt in years. "I won't be pushed aside. I won't fade into the background." He knew the Andersons would never willingly make him part of Emily's wedding. If he wanted to remain in her life, he would have to act wisely and strategically. David drafted a plan. He would attend every event, be present in meaningful ways, and remind Emily gently, yet unmistakably, that he was her father and irreplaceable. But he also knew he had to navigate Victoria's subtle control, Richard's cold politeness, and Michael's own insecurities. That afternoon, he stopped by Emily's apartment, hoping for a private conversation. He said, voice steady, "I have a plan. I want to be there for every moment of your wedding. Not just physically, but truly in your life. Can you trust me to do this?" Emily's eyes softened, but concern lingered. "Dad, I do trust you. But Victoria will not make it easy." David nodded. "I know, but I have to try. You're worth it. You're worth everything." As he left her apartment, locket in pocket, David felt a surge of courage. This was no longer just about being invited to dinners or rehearsals. It was about proving, once and for all, that no one could replace him in Emily's life. The battle is just beginning, and this time, I won't back down. The next day, David arrived at the florist's shop where Emily and Victoria were finalizing the wedding flowers. He hoped to lend a hand, maybe create a small moment with Emily away from the crowd. But as he approached, Victoria's sharp gaze caught him immediately. "David, what are you doing here?" Her voice was polite, but every syllable carried control. I thought I could help," David replied, holding the small bouquet he had chosen himself. "Just a little something for Emily." Victoria's lips tightened. "Emily doesn't need extra help right now. Please, step aside." David swallowed the sting, but refused to move. "Victoria, I'm her father. This isn't about permission, it's about being present." Emily appeared then, smiling hesitantly. "Dad, maybe we can," but Victoria quickly intervened, gently pulling Emily aside. "Honey, let Dad watch from over there. Let's focus on the arrangements." David stepped back, holding the bouquet tightly, heart aching. Every polite dismissal felt like another barrier, another way of being pushed further from his daughter. Yet, even as he stood there, frustrated and powerless, he whispered to himself, "I will find a way past this. I'll be with her. No one can stop me from being her father." That day, David learned the first lesson of the real battle. Love alone was not enough. Strategy, patience, and courage were equally vital. And he was ready to face them all. That evening, David attended a meeting at the Andersons' estate, another PRE wedding gathering. He hoped for at least a moment of connection with Emily, but as soon as he entered, the tension hit him like a wall. Victoria's eyes met his immediately, cool and unyielding. "David," she said, voice calm but firm, "please remember that Emily's schedule is carefully planned. Any interference can create chaos." David's chest tightened. "I'm not here to interfere. I'm here because she's my daughter, and I want to be part of her life, this wedding, her happiness." Richard Anderson's voice joined in, polite but commanding. "We appreciate your concern, David, but this is our arrangement. Emily has entrusted us with these responsibilities. We need you to respect that." David swallowed the lump forming in his throat, frustration burning inside. He realized that no matter how much he loved Emily, the Andersons' control over her world made him powerless at times. Every polite dismissal, every guarded smile, was a reminder that he was being forced to navigate invisible walls. Emily glanced at him briefly, her eyes soft but conflicted. She wanted to come closer to reassure him, but the weight of her new family's expectations held her back. David clutched the locket in his pocket, whispering to himself, "I won't let them take you away, Emily. Not now. Not ever." That night, as he drove home, he understood the truth of his mission. If he wanted to remain in his daughter's life, he needed more than presence. He needed patience, courage, and a plan that could pierce through the walls built around her. The battle was escalating, and he was ready to meet it head on. The following afternoon, David tried to meet Emily privately at her apartment. He arrived early, hoping to catch her before the day's wedding errands began. His heart raced, clutching the locket tightly, a tangible piece of the bond they shared. Emily opened the door, smiling softly. "Dad, you're early. I wanted a moment with you, Em." "Just you and me," David said, voice gentle but urgent. Before she could respond, her phone buzzed incessantly. Victoria's name flashed on the screen. Emily glanced at it, torn. I have to take this," she whispered, stepping aside. David's heart sank. Every step he took toward connection was blocked, every effort undermined by the invisible grip of the Andersons. He wanted to shout, to plead, but he knew he had to remain calm. Emily returned a few moments later, looking apologetic. "Dad, I really wanted to." David shook his head, forcing a soft smile. "It's okay, Em. I know you have responsibilities. I miss moments like this." She reached out, briefly touching his arm. "I miss them too, Dad. I promise I'll find time." David nodded, holding on to that fragile promise. As he left, he realized the battle was no longer just about being present. It was about finding every possible way to reach Emily's heart. Despite the walls the Andersons were building around her life, they can close in all they want, but I will find a way to reach her. That evening, David returned home, his mind racing. He replayed every interaction of the past weeks, every door subtly closed by Victoria or Richard, every time Emily was pulled away before they could truly connect. Then, a thought struck him. The wedding rehearsal was over, and the main celebration wouldn't begin for another week. There were still small, quiet moments. Emily controlled herself, like mornings at her apartment, brief errands, or walks in the nearby park. "This is it," he whispered. "This is where I can reach her without them stepping in." The next morning, David arrived at Emily's apartment, pretending to help with a minor errand, picking up a special wedding detail. Emily opened the door, surprised but smiling. "Dad, you're really helping?" David nodded, holding the locket carefully. "Just a little. And maybe I can walk with you a bit if you have time." Emily glanced toward the street, hesitation in her eyes. Then she smiled, letting him step outside. "Okay, just a short walk." For the first time in weeks, David felt the weight lifting slightly. They walked side by side, talking quietly, sharing memories, laughing softly. Victoria and the Andersons couldn't control this moment. It belonged solely to them. David opened the locket and handed it to Emily. "I wanted you to have this now, for real this time. A piece of your mum, and a piece of me that's always yours." Emily's eyes welled up as she clasped it around her neck. "Dad, thank you. I've missed this. I've missed you." David smiled, fighting back tears. "And I've missed you, Emily. But we'll find every chance we can to be together, okay?" As they walked back toward her apartment, David knew this was the beginning of a new strategy, a way to reclaim moments with Emily before the wedding swept everything else away. "I may face walls, obstacles, and control, but nothing can take away what's truly ours." David had barely stepped back from Emily's apartment when he noticed a sleek black car slowly cruising past. His heart sank. Inside, he could just make out Victoria's sharp gaze and Richard's stern expression. "They're watching," he realized. "They've noticed our moments together." The next day, David tried to meet Emily at a small CAF she loved. He arrived early, hoping to secure a private moment before Victoria could intervene. But as soon as Emily appeared, Victoria swept in behind her, smiling sweetly but tightly controlling. "Emily, darling, let's finish these final touches for the seating arrangements," Victoria cooed, guiding her gently yet firmly. David felt the familiar sting of being sidelined. He opened the locket in his hand, staring at the tiny photograph of Emily as a little girl. "This is ours, and I will protect it." Emily noticed his eyes on the locket. She wanted to linger, to share a quiet word, but Victoria's watchful presence made it impossible. David spoke softly, almost to himself. "I won't stop, Emily. No matter how many walls they put up, I will reach you." Even as Victoria smiled, subtly asserting her control, David felt a new fire ignite inside him. He would have to be smarter, patient, and more courageous than ever. Every move, every quiet gesture, every whispered word of love and memory, this was now his battlefield. They may watch, they may block, but nothing can erase the bond we share. That night, David sat at his kitchen table, reviewing every recent encounter with Emily and the Andersons. Each moment they had tried to keep him apart had left him frustrated, but now, a spark of strategy emerged. If I can't reach her openly, then I'll find the quiet moments they can't control. He devised a plan, small, private gestures that only Emily would notice, messages hidden in her favorite coffee, notes slipped into her wedding preparations, and little acts of love she couldn't ignore. Every move had to be subtle, yet meaningful enough to remind her of their unbreakable bond. The next morning, David arrived at Emily's apartment with a small envelope tucked in his coat. Inside, a handwritten note: "For the moments they cannot touch, remember we are always together." "Dad," Emily found it while arranging flowers in the kitchen. Her eyes widened, a soft smile spreading across her face. For the first time in days, she felt the warmth of her father's presence, unfiltered by the Andersons' control. David watched discreetly from the hallway, heart swelling. This was at the beginning of a new way to remain close to Emily. One small, quiet step at a time, proving that no barrier, no family interference, could sever what they shared. "I may face clever obstacles, but I will always find a way to reach her heart." The next day, David noticed subtle changes. Victoria's sharp eyes lingered longer at Emily whenever he was nearby, and Richard's polite smiles carried an unmistakable tension. "They're noticing," David thought, heart tightening. "They know I'm finding ways around their control." At the flower shop, he tried a new approach, offering to carry small wedding arrangements to Emily's car, pretending to help with errands. Emily smiled softly, grateful for the gesture, but Victoria appeared almost instantly, intercepting both father and daughter. "David," Victoria said sweetly, but firmly, "perhaps you should let Emily handle this herself. We don't want to overwhelm her." David's stomach twisted. Every small act he took to remain close was now being watched, scrutinized, and subtly blocked. Yet, he refused to step back. He leaned closer to Emily, whispering softly so only she could hear, "I'll find a way, Emily. Even if they try to stop me, even if it's quiet, I'll always be here." Emily's eyes shimmered with emotion. "I know, Dad. I feel it." For the first time, David realized that the real challenge wasn't just physical distance or polite dismissals. It was outsmarting the barriers, staying close in moments that mattered most, without letting the Andersons notice too much. This isn't just about presence anymore, it's about strategy, timing, and heart. "And I'm ready." A few days before the wedding, David discovered a rare opportunity. Emily had a short break between wedding errands, a quiet half hour where she could be alone without Victoria or Michael nearby. He called her softly. "Em, I know a moment you have to yourself. Can we meet for a quick walk?" Emily hesitated, glancing toward the bustling street, but then nodded. "Okay, just a short one." They walked through the nearby park, rain-kissed flowers lining the paths. For the first time in weeks, David felt the tension ease slightly. Here, Victoria's control and the Andersons' watchful eyes couldn't reach them. David handed Emily a small notebook, carefully decorated, filled with handwritten memories and gentle messages. "For the moments you need to remember, I'm always with you," he whispered. Emily's eyes welled with tears. "Dad, I've missed this so much. I feel like I've been torn between you and them." David squeezed her hand. "No one can take this from us, Emily. Not them, not the wedding, not anything. We'll find every chance we can to be together, even in the smallest ways." As they walked back, David realized this was more than a brief victory. It was proof that love, patience, and cleverness could pierce the barriers built around them. Yet he also knew the wedding would bring even greater obstacles, ones that would test his heart, courage, and resolve like never before. The battle isn't over, and the hardest challenge is still ahead. The morning of the final rehearsal arrived, and David felt a knot in his stomach. He had managed to carve out quiet, meaningful moments with Emily, but today everything would be tested. As he approached the Anderson estate, he noticed the atmosphere had shifted. Victoria's eyes were sharper, Richard's posture more rigid. Even Michael seemed slightly tense, sensing the undercurrent. David took a deep breath, gripping the locket in his pocket. This is it. Every choice, every word, every gesture counts. During the rehearsal, David spotted Emily slipping away briefly to adjust some details for the ceremony. This was his chance. He followed discreetly, careful not to draw attention, and found her near the garden terrace. "Dad," Emily whispered, relief and guilt mixing in her eyes. "I'm glad you're here." David smiled softly. "Me too, but we have to be careful. They're watching." Before they could share more, Victoria's voice called sharply, "Emily, where are you going?" David's heart pounded. He could either step forward and risk confrontation or retreat, preserving the fragile moments they had built. He clenched the locket, feeling the weight of every memory, every shared laugh, every tear. "I can't let go. Not now." With a steadying breath, David chose the harder path. He moved toward Emily, whispering, "No matter what, I'm not leaving your side. Not now. Not ever." Emily's eyes filled with tears, and in that moment, David realized that love alone wasn't enough, but courage, patience, and the willingness to risk everything for his daughter could make all the difference. "The real test is here, and I am ready to face it." As the wedding day drew closer, David sensed the tension building to a breaking point. Every small victory he had carved out with Emily was now under threat. The Andersons had grown wary, subtly tightening their control, and even Michael seemed more alert to his presence. David arrived at the estate early, determined to be close to Emily during the final preparations. He clutched the locket in his hand, a reminder of their bond, and whispered to himself, "No matter what happens today, I cannot step back. Not now. Not ever." In the grand hall, Emily was coordinating final details, radiant but visibly stressed. David moved closer, careful to avoid confrontation, but Victoria noticed immediately. "David," she said sharply, her voice low but firm, "this is your last warning. Step away." David's heart thundered, but he didn't flinch. He looked directly at Emily, silently communicating, "I'm here. I am not leaving." Emily's eyes met his, a flicker of hope and guilt shining through. She wanted to come closer, to embrace him, but the weight of her family's expectations held her back. Richard stepped forward, imposing yet polite. "David, this isn't your place. Please respect the arrangements." David swallowed the lump in his throat, the locket pressing into his palm. He realized that every polite warning, every barrier, was leading to one unavoidable truth. If he wanted to remain part of Emily's life, he had to make a choice, an act of courage that could either bring them closer or push them apart forever. This is it, the moment that will define everything. David stepped forward, determined to reach Emily, but almost instantly, Victoria intercepted him. Her polite smile was sharp, like a blade hidden in silk. "David, I warned you," she said, voice firm. Emily's focus must remain on the wedding. "Please step back." For the first time, David felt the sting of helplessness. All his careful planning, the quiet moments, the hidden notes, the subtle gestures seemed to unravel in an instant. Emily's eyes met his, wide and conflicted, and he felt the weight of their separation deepen. He tried to speak softly, "Emily, I just want," but Richard stepped in, guiding Emily gently yet firmly away. "Now isn't the time, David. Respect our space." David's grip on the locket tightened, heart aching. For a moment, the reality hit him. Love and strategy weren't enough when the walls around them were this strong. He had failed to reach her fully in this crucial moment. He stepped back, swallowing the pain, and whispered to himself, "I won't give up. This isn't over. I'll find another way, even if it's the hardest path yet." The rehearsal continued, a blur of activity around him, but David's mind focused on one thing, the next move, the next chance, and the single, most difficult choice that would determine whether he could truly remain in Emily's life. The fight isn't over, but the hardest part is coming. David retreated to a quiet corner of the estate, trying to steady his racing heart. The first failure stung more than he had expected. Every glance at Emily's smiling face, every step she took toward the life she was building with Michael, felt like a reminder of what he might lose. He clenched the locket in his hand, whispering, "I cannot lose her. Not like this." The afternoon passed in a blur of rehearsals and final preparations. Every attempt David made to get a private moment with Emily was subtly blocked. Victoria's watchful eyes, Richard's polite but firm interventions, even Michael's protective gestures. The walls around her life seemed to grow taller with each passing minute. By evening, exhaustion and frustration pressed heavily on David. He felt cornered, as if every path he tried led to another dead end. The thought of losing his daughter completely loomed large, threatening to crush him from the inside. But deep in his heart, a single truth remained: I love her more than anything, and I will fight with every ounce of my strength. Even if the path is impossible, even if the cost is high, I cannot step back. As David watched Emily laughing with friends, oblivious to the storm within him, he knew the next move would require everything he had: courage, patience, and the willingness to face the most difficult choice of his life. Tomorrow, everything could change, and I must be ready. The day before the wedding, David faced the harshest reality yet. Every subtle plan, every quiet gesture, every small victory he had achieved over the past weeks seemed to unravel in a single moment. During a final check at the estate, Victoria intercepted him, her voice calm but cutting. "David, you've crossed the line too many times. If you can't respect boundaries, I will have to take further steps." Richard's presence behind her made the warning unmistakable. The Andersons were prepared to push him out completely. David's chest tightened, his heart pounding in desperation. Emily passed by, briefly catching his eyes, and he could see the confusion and worry in hers. She wanted to reach for him, but the walls around her were too strong. He clenched the locket, whispering to himself, "All I've done, all I've tried, and it's still not enough." For the first time, David realized that no matter how much he loved Emily, or how clever his strategies were, he could fail completely. The wedding was imminent, and his presence in her life seemed more fragile than ever. Tears threatened, but he forced himself to breathe. "There's one choice left, one path I haven't dared take yet. It's the hardest one, but it might be the only way to truly reach her." David looked at Emily, laughter dancing across her face, and made his silent vow: "No matter the cost, I will not give up on my daughter." The morning of the wedding arrived, crisp and golden with sunlight, but David's heart felt heavy with the weight of the decision he had to make. Every failed attempt, every blocked gesture, every polite dismissal had led to this single moment, the ultimate choice that could either secure his place in Emily's life or cost him everything. Emily was in her room, radiant in her dress, while Victoria and Richard hovered nearby, ensuring everything was perfect. Michael was calm but alert, sensing the tension between David and the family. David clutched the locket in his hand. He could intervene directly, risking confrontation that might push Emily away, or he could step back, allowing the wedding to proceed smoothly but sacrificing precious moments of connection forever. Taking a deep breath, David whispered to himself, "I can't stay in the shadows any longer. If I truly want to be part of her life, I have to act, even if it terrifies me." He stepped into the room, voice steady but full of emotion. "Emily, I love you. I've always been here for you, and I will always be. No one, nothing, can take that away. I just need you to know in your heart that I am your father, and I will never stop being here for you." Emily's eyes filled with tears, her hand trembling as she reached for him. The room fell silent. Even Victoria and Richard paused, sensing the undeniable bond between father and daughter. For a moment, time stood still. Every obstacle, every wall, every subtle control dissolved before the simple truth: love, courage, and honesty could pierce even the tallest barriers. David knew that whatever happened next, he had chosen the path of the heart. And in that moment, he realized that sometimes the hardest choice is also the most powerful. This is it, the choice that defines everything. After speaking from his heart, David felt an immediate shift. Emily's hand lingered in his, warmth spreading between them like sunlight breaking through clouds. The tension of weeks melted, replaced by a quiet, powerful connection that neither Victoria nor Richard could sever. Victoria's lips pressed into a thin line, Richard's jaw tightened, but they said nothing. The undeniable truth in David's words resonated. Emily's love for her father could not be ignored. Emily leaned closer, whispering, "Dad, I needed to hear that. I've been scared, but I know now. You'll always be with me." David smiled, relief washing over him like a tide. "I will, every step of the way. I promise." Even as the wedding preparations continued around them, David and Emily shared small, quiet moments that no one could interfere with. Laughter over childhood memories, a gentle brush of hands, whispered encouragements for the day ahead. For David, it wasn't just a victory, it was proof that courage, honesty, and love could overcome even the strongest obstacles. We've weathered the hardest storm, and now the calm begins. With the wedding day fully underway, David and Emily moved with quiet confidence, savoring the moments that truly mattered. Every glance, every whispered word, every gentle touch became their secret language, a testament to their bond that no one could disrupt. Victoria and Richard watched carefully, attempting subtle interventions, but David's steady presence and Emily's quiet assurance rendered them powerless. For the first time, it felt like he had truly carved a permanent place in her life. During a brief pause outside the chapel, Emily leaned into David. "Dad, I feel like I can breathe again. Like I've been carrying so much, and you've always been here without me knowing how much I needed you." David held her hand, squeezing gently. You've always been my heart. No one can ever change that. Today, we walk this path together, and every day after that, I'll be here." Even amidst the flurry of wedding preparations, their quiet moments gave them strength, grounding Emily in her father's unwavering support. It was no longer just about defending his presence. It was about celebrating the unbreakable bond they shared. Together, we can face anything, and nothing will take this away from us. As the ceremony drew nearer, David noticed Victoria and Richard exchanging glances, their subtle authority attempting one last intervention. But David, calm and composed, stood his ground beside Emily, a quiet strength emanating from him that no one could ignore. Victoria's voice, gentle but sharp, tried to sway Emily. "Darling, remember our plans. Let's stay on schedule." Emily looked at her father, searching for reassurance. David smiled warmly, squeezing her hand. "Emily, it's your day, and it's about what feels right for you. I'll be here, whatever you choose." For a moment, even Victoria faltered. The unshakable bond between father and daughter shone brighter than any carefully constructed plans. Richard lowered his gaze, acknowledging silently that David's love was not to be denied. Emily's eyes welled with tears, a mix of relief and joy. "Dad, I feel like nothing can stop us now." David nodded, heart swelling. "This is the victory I've waited for, not in confrontation, but in quiet, steadfast love. The walls may have tried to close in, but our hearts have always found a way." As the music began and the ceremony started, David walked proudly with Emily, knowing that the greatest triumph wasn't in overpowering anyone, it was in the enduring power of love and presence. "At last, our hearts are free, and nothing can take this away." As the ceremony concluded, David and Emily shared quiet moments away from the crowd, savoring a brief respite before the bustling reception. The sunlight danced across the garden, illuminating their smiles and the genuine laughter they had longed for. Emily leaned on David's shoulder, whispering, "Dad, I've missed feeling this safe, this understood. Today, it finally feels like we're okay." David hugged her gently. We've always been okay. It just took a little storm to remind us of how strong we are together. Nothing will ever take that from us again." They wandered through the garden, reminiscing about her childhood picnics, birthday surprises, and silly dances in the living room, cherishing these fleeting, precious moments before Emily stepped fully into her new life. Even as the reception preparations swirled around them, David felt a serene happiness. The battles had tested him, but now the warmth of fatherly love and the joy of reconnecting with Emily shone brighter than any obstacle. "For the first time in weeks, I can breathe and truly celebrate the life we've built together." As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose, David stood beside Emily, watching her laugh with friends and family at the reception. Every worry, every obstacle, every moment of fear felt distant now. Emily turned to him, eyes shining. "Dad, thank you for never giving up on me. I feel like we've found our way back to each other." David smiled, feeling a swell of pride and relief. It was always worth it. Love doesn't give up, and neither do I. Today isn't just a wedding, it's a new beginning for both of us. Victoria and Richard approached quietly. Though still cautious, there was a subtle respect in their expressions. They had seen the unwavering bond between father and daughter, and they could no longer ignore it. David took Emily's hand, guiding her to the dance floor. Together, they shared a slow, heartfelt dance, a private celebration of resilience, courage, and unconditional love. The world around them faded, leaving only the bond that had endured every challenge. In that golden moment, David realized that life's greatest victories weren't in avoiding obstacles, they were in facing them with love, patience, and steadfast courage. He had nearly lost everything, yet here he was, fully present in his daughter's life, stronger than ever. No matter what comes next, we've built something unbreakable. And this is our forever. The reception continued into the evening, filled with laughter, clinking glasses, and soft music. David watched Emily dance with friends, her happiness radiating, and felt a sense of peace he hadn't known in weeks. The storm of tension, worry, and near loss had passed, leaving behind a calm that was both profound and fragile. He leaned closer to Emily, whispering, "You know, Em, we did it. We made it through all the chaos together." Emily smiled, resting her head briefly against his shoulder. "I know, Dad, and I finally understand. I've always needed you, and now I truly feel it." Even Victoria and Richard, once so controlling, were now quieter, observing from a distance with a mixture of respect and acceptance. David realized that love and patience didn't just rebuild relationships, they reshaped hearts. This calm, this peace, it's a reward we've earned together, and it feels more precious than anything else in the world. As the night deepened, David and Emily found a quiet terrace overlooking the softly lit garden. The music and laughter from the reception became a gentle hum in the background, allowing them to truly be present with one another. Emily sighed softly, eyes glistening. "Dad, I've been so caught up in everything, I almost forgot how important it is to just be together." David smiled, holding her hand. Life will always throw challenges our way, but moments like this remind us what really matters. Love, presence, and trust. Nothing else can replace that. They reminisced about old memories, from silly childhood adventures to the small, unnoticed acts of care that had carried them through difficult times. Each memory was a thread, weaving their hearts closer than ever. Even under the shadow of past struggles, David felt a profound gratitude. "We survived the storms, and now our bond shines brighter than ever." Emily rested her head on his shoulder. "Dad, thank you for never giving up on me." David whispered softly, "I'll never stop him. Not now, not ever." And in that quiet night, father and daughter knew no obstacle could ever break what they had rebuilt together. The next morning, David and Emily joined family and friends for a small brunch in the garden. Sunlight streamed through the trees, casting a golden glow over the tables adorned with flowers and laughter. Every smile, every conversation felt like a celebration not just of a wedding, but of resilience, love, and second chances. Emily leaned toward David, whispering, "Dad, I feel like I can finally breathe fully. All the fear, the tension, it feels gone." David smiled, squeezing her hand gently. "It's gone, Em, because we faced it together. And now we can focus on the joy that's ours." Even Victoria and Richard offered warm, albeit tentative, nods and smiles. Though control had defined their earlier interactions, they could no longer overshadow the genuine connection between father and daughter. David felt a deep sense of gratitude. Gratitude for the trials that taught patience, for the courage that revealed love's strength, and for the precious moments that reminded him why every challenge had been worth it. This day, this life, this love, it's more than I could have hoped for, and it's ours forever. Later that evening, as the reception quieted down, David found a moment alone on the terrace, gazing at the fading sunset. He reflected on the whirlwind of emotions, obstacles, and choices that had brought him here. Every worry, every blocked moment, every tear. It was all part of the journey, he thought, and it taught me what truly matters: patience, courage, and unconditional love. He held the locket in his hand, feeling the weight of memories and promises. Emily's trust, her laughter, and her simple presence had become his anchor, guiding him through every challenge. David realized that being a father wasn't about controlling events or winning battles, it was about showing up, consistently, with heart and honesty. Every small gesture of love, every quiet moment, had the power to heal and strengthen bonds. As Emily appeared beside him, resting her head briefly on his shoulder, David whispered, "We've learned a lot, Em, and the best lesson is that we're stronger together than anything the world could throw at us." Emily smiled softly, eyes reflecting gratitude and love. "I know, Dad, and I'll never forget it." In the stillness of this night, David understood the greatest victories are found not in grand gestures, but in love, patience, and unwavering presence. As the evening drew to a close, family and friends began saying their goodbyes, each hug and smile carrying warmth and heartfelt wishes. David walked Emily to the door, holding her hand gently, savoring every last moment before the house quieted. "Dad, thank you for being here," Emily whispered, tears glistening but joy radiating. "I've never felt more understood, more safe, or more loved." David smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. I'll always be here, in every step of your life. No matter what, that never changes." Victoria and Richard approached, offering polite but genuine smiles. Though their earlier control had been firm, the evening had revealed the unshakable bond between father and daughter, one that could not be erased or ignored. As the last guests departed and the garden grew quiet under the stars, David felt a profound sense of fulfillment. The storm of tension and worry had passed, leaving in its place love, connection, and the quiet knowledge that no challenge could sever what they had rebuilt. These goodbyes are sweet, not bitter. They mark a beginning. A life filled with trust, joy, and unbreakable love. Once the last guest had left, David and Emily remained in the softly lit garden, enjoying the serenity of the night. The chatter, laughter, and music of the reception had faded, leaving only the two of them in a peaceful bubble of connection. Emily leaned against David, whispering softly, "Dad, tonight I feel like we can start fresh. All the fear, the tension, it feels like it's behind us." David wrapped his arm around her, holding her close. "It's behind us, Em. And from now on, it's about moments like this, quiet, steady, and ours. No interruptions, no barriers, just us." They walked slowly among the moonlit flowers, sharing stories, laughing quietly at old memories, and planning small joys for the future. Every step, every word strengthened the bond that had endured so many trials. David realized that these simple, undisturbed moments were more precious than any grand gesture. They were the proof that love, patience, and unwavering presence could survive even the toughest challenges. Here, in the calm of the night, we find our true strength, and the heart knows it will never be broken again. As they sat together on a quiet bench under the stars, David reflected on the journey that had led them here. Every challenge, every moment of doubt, every small victory had taught him the true meaning of fatherhood and resilience. Love isn't about grand gestures or controlling outcomes, he thought. It's about being present, showing patience, and never giving up on the people who matter most. Emily nestled closer, sensing his thoughts. "Dad, I feel it too. I've learned that love can be quiet, steady, and strong even when everything around us feels uncertain." David smiled, feeling the weight of weeks of worry lift completely. "Exactly, Em. And this is just the beginning. Every day from now on, we'll keep building, laughing, and supporting each other. Nothing can take this away from us." The cool night breeze whispered through the garden, carrying with it a sense of peace, fulfillment, and hope. In that serene moment, David knew that their bond had become unshakable, a foundation strong enough to face any future challenge. We've faced the storms, survived the trials, and now we step into a life full of love, trust, and endless possibilities. The following morning, David and Emily joined family and friends for a casual breakfast, basking in the warmth of shared joy. Laughter filled the room, and every glance, hug, and conversation carried a newfound sense of peace and connection. Emily looked around, smiling brightly. "Dad, it feels like everything is finally in the right place. I've never felt this happy." David squeezed her hand gently. "Me too, Em. This happiness, it's ours to hold, and nothing can take it away. All the struggles, all the fears, they led us to this moment." Even Victoria and Richard seemed more relaxed, their expressions softening as they watched the bond between father and daughter shine so clearly. The tension that had once loomed over them had faded, replaced by quiet respect and acceptance. David took a deep breath, feeling a sense of gratitude he hadn't realized he could carry. This is what it's all been about. Love, presence, and unwavering support, shared and celebrated together. As the morning sunbathed the room in light, David and Emily knew that the memories of trials would always be part of their story. But so too would the warmth, joy, and unbreakable connection they had fought to preserve. Together, we've found our happiness, and nothing will ever take it from us. As the day drew to a close, David and Emily took a quiet walk around the estate, hand in hand, reflecting on everything they had endured and overcome. Every laugh, every tear, every obstacle had led them to this peaceful moment, and the gratitude they felt for each other filled the air. Emily looked up at David, eyes shining. "Dad, I can't imagine my life without you. You've been my anchor, my guide, and my safe place. Thank you for never giving up on me." David's voice was gentle, full of emotion. It's been the hardest journey, but every step was worth it. You're my daughter, my heart. And nothing in this world could ever change that. Even the soft whispers of the evening breeze seemed to echo their unspoken promise, a bond forged through trials, strengthened by love, and unbreakable by any challenge. As they paused to watch the sunset together, David felt an overwhelming sense of peace. Every struggle, every fear, every choice had led to this clarity, that love, presence, and patience were the greatest gifts one could ever give or receive. We've faced the storms, and now our hearts are stronger than ever. Forever, we walk this path together. As twilight settled over the estate, David and Emily stood side by side, watching the sky painted with hues of pink and gold. The air was filled with serenity, a stark contrast to the weeks of turmoil, worry, and near loss they had endured. Emily took David's hand, squeezing it gently. Dad, I finally understand that no matter what happens, love is what guides us. We've been through so much, but we're still here together. David's voice trembled with emotion, yet carried a quiet strength. Life will always have its storms. But what we've built, the trust, the laughter, the unwavering bond between us, nothing can ever take that away. That is our forever promise. In that moment, memories of struggle and perseverance flashed through David's mind, the blocked attempts to connect, the silent battles, the choices that had seemed impossible. Each challenge had tested him, yet each had strengthened the foundation of their relationship. Emily leaned her head on his shoulder. Dad, I feel safe, loved, and truly seen. I've learned that the hardest journeys can lead to the most beautiful destinations. David smiled, heart full, as the stars began to twinkle above them. And this is just the beginning, Em. Together, we'll face everything life throws at us with courage, love, and unwavering presence. Always, as the night embraced them, father and daughter knew that no obstacle could ever break the bond they had fought to preserve. Every trial had been worth it, every tear had led to understanding, and every moment of doubt had revealed the enduring power of love. Our hearts are forever intertwined, and together, we are unstoppable.